The line command is very simple and straightforward, having only two options. However, to make the best use of lines, you will also need to know how to use several drawing aids, such as ortho, polar tracking, the relative polar coordinate system, and dynamic input. To begin with, let's turn off any of the status bar modes which happen to be on. Make sure all the icons are grayed out, so you can draw some freehand lines. Click the Line tool on the Draw panel, and click some points on screen. There are just two command line options, Close and Undo. Undo simply takes you back a step, and Close connects the last point that you clicked with the first point, and it also terminates the line command. Next, let's try the ortho mode. Toggle it on here. Press the spacebar to repeat the line command. Click a point, and notice that the rubber band connected from the point that you clicked to your cursor location is constrained horizontally or vertically. Click some points, and you'll see that you can only draw lines which are horizontal or vertical. That is, they're orthogonal to each other. I'll press the spacebar to end the command. Next, let's try polar tracking. It's the adjacent icon. When I click this on, notice that ortho mode is automatically turned off. That's because these are mutually exclusive. Right-click on the polar tracking icon to open its context menu. Select 45 degrees from the list. Press the spacebar to repeat the line command, and click a point. Notice that now we have a dashed green line representing the direction that we're drawing in. We also have a tooltip which gives us information in the relative polar coordinate system. That is, it's a distance and an angle from the point that I initially clicked. As you move the mouse, these numbers will change. As I go up here, I get a dashed green line at a 45-degree angle. In fact, I get dashed green lines every 45 degrees. The tooltip can also help you get familiarized with the angular system of measurement. For example, this is 135 degrees away from the initial point clicked. By default, 0 degrees is in the east. I'll click some points here using the polar system set to 45 degrees. I'll press the spacebar to end the command, and then I'll drag the mouse wheel to pan over. Next, let's type some relative polar coordinates using the keyboard. I'll press the spacebar to repeat the line command, and turn off polar tracking. I'll click an initial point, and then I'll use the keyboard to specify the length of the line and the angle from the initial point clicked. I'll type at, so I have to hold down the Shift key and press the number 2 to get the at symbol. At means the point is relative to the first point that I clicked. Rather than being relative to the origin point of the coordinate system, it's relative to the point that I clicked. I'll type in 4, and then I'll type in the angle symbol, which is above the comma, so Shift angle symbol. It's also known as the less than operator in math. So at 4 angle 0, enter. So I've succeeded in drawing a line that's 4 units in length at an angle of 0 degrees from the initial point clicked. Let's try that again. I'll draw another line segment at 3 angle 30. So that's a point that will be relative to the last point clicked. It'll be 3 units long at an angle of 30 degrees. I'll press enter, and you can see the result. Let's try that one more time. At 5 angle minus 45. So a negative angle would be below the horizon. It would be down in the lower quadrant. So I'll press enter, and you can see what I mean. The line is 5 units down from the last point clicked at an angle of negative 45 degrees. Press enter to end the command. There's one other mode I'd like to show you now, which is dynamic input. This simplifies entering polar coordinates and it gives you visual feedback on screen. I'll drag the mouse wheel over so I have a little more room here, and I'll draw another line. I'll click the first point here, and we see on screen two key pieces of information, the distance and the angle. So I can type in a distance, let's say it's 7, and then I'd like to specify the angle. So to get over there, you use the Tab key. Press Tab, and it then highlights the other parameter, which is the angle. I'll type in 45 and press Enter. So with dynamic input, there is no need to use the @ symbol because it's assumed that the dimensions that you're entering are relative to the last point clicked. Let's try this again. I'll move the mouse over here and I'll type in 8 tab 30. Now 30 on the keyboard would mean an angle above the horizon, but in dynamic input, you're indicating the direction you want to go in by the position of the cursor. So I'll press Enter, and you'll see that this line went down. You can enter negative values in dynamic input, but it's not necessary because you can move the cursor in the direction you want to go. Let's try this one more time. I'll move down here and I'll say 4 tab 90, Enter. So I get a line going down at a 90-degree angle at that specified distance. Dynamic input also has options which you can open up by pressing the down arrow. Notice the tooltip says Specify Next Point or down arrow. So I'll press that on the keyboard, and then I can see the two options, Close and Undo. I'll click Close. So now you have learned not only how to draw lines, but to use a variety of drawing aids to draw them in the directions and lengths desired.